Streaming live on WHITradio.org from High Tech High School in North Bergen, New Jersey. It's Second Take. I'm your announcer, Crazy Carlos, and now your host, Sam, the man.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of Second Take with Mr. Nardiello Sr. I'm Sam the Man. That's Mom of the Magnet.
Yep.
And let's think of what's a good
Second Take, I guess.
No. A good nickname for Mr. Nard.
A good what?
We all have I'm Sam the Man. That's Muhammad the Magnet. We all have nicknames, so I'm trying to think of one. They're generally an alliteration.
Nomadic Nard.
Nomadic Nard.
Oh.
Okay.
Or Noble Nard.
Oh, I like that one too.
All right, we have Noble Nard.
All-knowing Nard.
All-knowing
like
Nard.
that.
That'll be your nickname every time you're on the show.
All-knowing Nard.
We're going to talk a little bit about steroids and Mr. Nard's unusual opinion about how he feels that they should be legal in the MLB.
Well, I didn't exactly say that. But what I do feel is that there's some things that they've done now in baseball that have been detrimental to the game. First off, I don't think steroids should be legal anywhere below the professional level. And even at that point, not everything should be legal. But there are some things that, like HGH and some things like that, which I think heal the body and
I agree with him
could
on
be
that
used.
one.
And I believe in that. One of the things that has hurt the game, I think, is the amphetamine use. They've outlawed the use of amphetamines at the major league level. And I really don't think that's a good thing. Amphetamines are used by doctors pulling a double shift, and truck drivers, and students studying for finals, and many different uses for amphetamine use. And I don't want to just keep rattling on here, but I think it gives the pitchers too big an advantage, and that's why you've seen less runs scored. Because what happens is someone knows they're going to be a starting pitcher. They send the guy out, a couple of days in advance if they're going out to the West Coast or something like that, so that they can get acclimated and rested and whatnot. Whereas the everyday players fly in that day of the game and they're exhausted, and it gives a real big advantage to the pitchers, which I don't think is fair, and I think that's why you've seen a lot of the run production drop. And people like to see runs. They like offense.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons they were talking about getting rid of the defensive shifts in baseball. I think that I think the defensive shifts are not a good thing, but I don't think it's an illegal thing. I think that it's something that should be kept. I think that it's a bit of strategy that the managers have to play to use against batters, and I think that if the batter doesn't like the shift, he should learn to hit the other way.
Yeah, he could, but then again, look at basketball. Professional basketball, they outlawed the zone defense. You got football, there's illegal formations. And the reasons for those things is to increase offense, to give the offensive people an opportunity. I think the spirit of the game was played with 9 players in a certain position. And I think that's the way the spirit of the game was. Now with the tendencies and the computers and the algorithms and all the scouting that's done, it really, it puts the hitter at a big disadvantage. That's why you've been seeing runs and scoring decrease almost every year, and it's because these tendencies and whatnot have been brought forth. Now you get a lot of people saying, well, steroid use is going to it skews the records. Well, I think what skews the records even more is the fact that nowadays, you got the relief pitchers, you got specialists that come in, you've got, you got the defensive shifts, you got people looking at the computer tendencies. These things skew the records just as much or more than steroid use. Maybe, in favor of the older players who held the records.
Yeah.
So, in that case, I just think that, you got to judge players within their era. For instance, when Babe Ruth played, he for 2 years he hit more home runs by himself than 2/3 of the teams in baseball. So he dominated that era to such an extent that you just have to say, well, the guy is the
Yeah.
greatest of all time.
I mean, he had 714 home runs at a time when the record was for the right-handed batter was still like 200 home runs
Exactly.
career. I mean, he just dominated that era. I mean, there was nobody even close to him.
I mean, the guy that you probably heard of, you may not have, but a guy named Home Run Baker. Okay.
I haven't heard. Of him.
Well, you probably wouldn't have heard of him. He was back around 1917, 1918, and he led the major leagues in home runs with 11. Okay, so I mean, it's a totally you can't judge today's player against yesterday's player. It just it doesn't work.
There's so many different factors. Like,
totally different factors.
for Home Run Baker, I don't know the exact year the live ball era started, but he probably played in the dead ball era.
Dead ball
so
era,
that would have
exactly.
been different.
Exactly.
The pitchers had a little bit more advantage in terms of like spitballs and other things that were still legal at the time.
And not with the changes in equipment and the changes in nutrition and the changes in
Just in
the
the way you
specialists
rest-
in pitching and whatnot. You can't judge one against the other anymore. So I don't count when they say, oh, well, steroids is going to cheapen the records. Because you judge them against what they did against their peers.
So what do you think about Barry Bonds and that and the home run record and I guess him compared to? Do you think that he should still be should still be sort of an icon in baseball for his era, or do you think that he
Absolutely,
shamed
I
the
think he
game?
should be an icon for his era. It was an era where steroid use was pretty prevalent, and he still was outstanding and head and shoulders above everybody else in that era. I mean, I just really think keeping guys like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens out of the Hall of Fame. I don't think it's good for the game, and I don't think it's an accurate assessment. Just like I don't think, I think Pete Rose, how do you keep the person who had more hits than anybody else in the history of the game? How do you keep him out of the Hall of Fame?
He bet on his own team. He should definitely be back in by now. I mean, Shoeless Joe should be in too.
Really. People gamble. It's just the way it is. Look, you guys I just heard you two guys make a bet.
Yeah, we did.
I just heard you two guys make a bet.
Yeah, I think Pete Rose should definitely be instated, and I think that it's ridiculous also with the Hall of Fame votes that a lot of voters don't vote for all 10 spots. Mm-hmm. And I think that there definitely needs to be a lot of reform in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I think there's a lot of great players who aren't in who should be in. And I think there's a lot of players taking heat for the steroids era even when there's little to no connection to it.
Right. Look at Mike Piazza.
Mike Piazza, Craig Biggio. Did he make it in this year?
Craig Biggio made it this year.
Yeah, but still, he should have been voted in first ballot.
Absolutely.
He wasn't because, the whole steroids era,
And with no proof at all.
Exactly. I mean, it's just, you can't taint an entire era of players based on what a few players did. That's, it's just not something.
Stop it.
It's just not right to them, and it's not right to the game.
No.
A great's
I
a great
agree.
either way.
I agree.
So I guess that's been our show. I'm Sam the Man. That's All-Knowing Nard, Muhammad the Magnet. We hope you join us again on Monday. This has been Wake Up High Tech.
Okay, thanks a lot, fellas.
That was a good show. I'd love to have you back again.
I'll come back anytime you want.
Come back. I gotta catch up on baseball. That's what.
We can talk about other things, too. I'm an expert on everything.